everybody, and welcome to another episode of You Can't Scare Me. I'm Bob, aka Dumbass, and with me is Mario. What's your nickname, Mario?
It's me, Mario. I'm the cool ghoul who's everybody's pal.
Oh my god, I fucking love that intro.
And here's Rachel, whose nickname is...
Fatso the Princess.
Yes, perfect. See, we all have nicknames because, as everybody knows, nicknames are always a term of endearment, no matter what they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Welcome to episode 2 of You Can't Scare Me. Today, we are going to talk about Stay Out of the Basement, or as R.L. Stine pronounces it in the audiobook, Stay Out of the Basement.
Hello, I'm R.L. Stine. Stay out of the basement.
Stay out of the basement.
Stay out of the basement. It has the same inflection of ba-da-da-boopy. Stay out of the basement.
Is it really him on the audiobook?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You can tell because he sounds like he hates your guts. he basically says, hey, I'm R.L. Stine. It sounds exactly like he does in the show. It's amazing and incredible.
Oh,
and I
you
love
kids out there listening. Stay
So-
off my lawn.
So, as a special treat for this episode, Mario wants to talk about something near and dear to his heart. The 90s.
It's right. That's history. It's history, as we say in the land of history. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought it'd be fun to talk about what was the world like when these books were released. And Stay Out of the Basement was released in July of 1992. I would have been 3. I had to do some math there. So, what was culture like in 1992? Well, Batman Returns came out in June, the best Christmas movie ever made, and I might say the best Batman movie ever made.
Oh, absolutely.
I wasn't allowed to watch it.
It's very scary.
My parents wouldn't let me watch it because it was so scary.
It's very scary. Video games, Spanky's Quest came out in 1992.
What?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What the hell is that?
I just have that in all caps. Spanky's Quest. There's Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Wolfenstein 3D, Alone in the Dark,
Oh boy.
Wow.
Night Trap,
Incredible.
Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh, man.
I remember that coming out and everybody getting weird about video games
That's
for the
right.
first time.
Evidently, in 1992, there was also a big controversy with regards to a toy called Teen Talk Barbie, because Teen Talk Barbie complained about math being hard.
Oh, no.
I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Starting in September of 1992, the superhero cartoon boom took off. Batman the Animated Series hits the TVs.
Classic.
X-Men hits in October of this year. The Real World starts airing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sailor Moon began airing this year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Beakman's World began airing this year.
Oh, my God.
That's that good shit. I'm surprised you didn't speak up more, Rachel, when he said Real World came
That's
up.
because I could go on a whole lecture on how amazing the first few seasons of The Real
That's the
World
next podcast, y'all. We're
It's the
going
Real
to do
World.
the real world.
And let me add this. NAFTA was signed.
Aw.
So we got that.
And that's the 90s. No
And
more,
that's the 90s.
no less.
This was an incredible year.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to 1998 when Furbies came out.
Oh, man.
Thank you for setting the stage.
Mhm.
I have been transported mentally to the 90s. I am now I'm a tiny child with big old stupid glasses.
I'm a big old stupid child thinking a lot about Batman Returns and also NAFTA.
Alrighty, and with that, let's go ahead and get into it. So, our first segment, Rachel, why don't you give us a 3-sentence summary
Oh.
of Stay Out of the Basement? She's thinking really hard.
I mean,
2 kids, daddy, right? Yeah.
yep.
Gets scared. No, wait.
Okay, you're describing every single Goosebumps book.
2 kids get scared.
Sometimes 3.
All right. 2 kids discover that their father is a mad scientist working on something very creepy involving plants in the basement.
Nailed it.
Yeah?
Nailed it.
Oh, you did it. You want to do it in one sentence? You just did a 3-sentence summary in one sentence? You're breaking the rules on episode 2?
Yay!
I mean,
Rachel.
listen, when you get it down like that in one sentence, you don't need 2 more sentences.
Exactly.
You got it.
Let's just get into it, man.
Thank you,
Rachel. That was perfect.
Oh, you're welcome.
I would just like to add, hijinks ensue.
Hijinks
Yes,
definitely ensue.
yeah.
So before we start off, I want to just point out how weirdly similar this book is in terms of the characters to the previous book, Welcome to Dead House.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a 11-year-old girl.
No, she's
I
12.
think she's 12.
She's 12, just like in the previous book, if I remember correctly. And then her kid, so her name is Margaret.
Yep.
Her kid brother is Casey, who is 11, just like Welcome to Dead House.
Exactly the same. And believe me, I was on that shit immediately. I was like, 11 years old, noted for Mario's checklist of things about Goosebumps.
Yes, and he goes with the older daughter is the more mature one. I think she actually tells her younger brother, like, grow up or like, or something along those
definitely.
lines.
So this is the Brewer family. Brewer? We get that? We get that pun? Because I hope you all like plant puns, because this book's got a lot of them. There are so many plant puns. Like at the very beginning of the book, their father is described as, quote, becoming weedy and seedy.
What? I remember that.
You remember that? Oh,
No.
man, it's so good. So Mario, what did you think about the intro to this book?
Okay, well, wait. Do you want us to talk about the cover for the book
Oh,
first?
absolutely. I forgot about the best thing.
Okay, yes. Let us talk about this cover. Let us talk about the cover of Stay Out of the
We
Basement.
have to talk about the cover.
Because Stay Out of the Basement's cover was not done by Tim Jacobus.
This one was done by Jim Thiessen.
Jim Thiessen. He's an actual horror artist. He has done the covers to a lot of actual horror novels, including several Stephen King novels. So he's like I'm going to say classically trained paperback horror novel cover artist, which goes a long way to explain why this cover looks the way that it does, as opposed to all the other covers in the Goosebumps oeuvre.
Yeah. The interesting thing, since this is a podcast, you guys can't really see.
But you can't Google it.
It's also going to be the album art for this podcast. So
Well, then you can look at that.
just look at that. But to describe it really quickly and then compare it to Jacobus's work beforehand with Welcome to Dead House and some of the stuff that comes later, Jim Thiessen he's doing more of a like subtle cover. It's like, okay, so first off, it's the door to a basement. It's like a classic door handle and a hand pushing the door open. The door handle is like gold. It's like the door is yellowish, like a standard like basement door. But the hand that's opening the door is all green and really veiny, and it's got a bunch of like little
leaves poking out.
leaves
Stems.
poking off, little. And then the probably the most iconic part that a lot of Goosebumps merch will lean heavily into later on is the fingernails are like yellow and like cracked and really like kind of nasty looking.
And also the tagline, let me add, is "Something's waiting in the dark," which is a good tagline for a Goosebumps book, especially when it eventually they just stopped caring about those entirely.
Right. Yeah. At a certain point, they just become shit posts, and I don't know. I'm here for it, but anyway. But yeah. And the previous episode, I mentioned that I had a subscription to the Goosebumps fan club, and I had a bunch of the little things that little Goosebumps items. I don't know how I got these, but looking at the wiki, suddenly I'm flooded with memories of owning not only the Stay Out of the Basement safety scissors but also the protractor, the electrifying protractor. These were, they're just like school supplies. And that was one of the great things about it. Like, you just went into the fan club, they sent you school supplies for the next school year. And then you just had them. You didn't have to go shopping for them. And they were fucking kick-ass. So the safety scissors the reason I'm bringing this up, there's a good reason for it.
I believe that.
It's goofy as fuck. Because the safety scissors, imagine scissors, but the protruding like part where the blade is just a finger with a yellow fingernail. Oh. It's like green finger and like really nasty looking, and it's kick-ass.
The thing about this cover is I think it's genuinely scarier than basically any other Goosebumps cover in the entire series.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is so menacing and sinister, and it just looks much classier than every other Goosebumps cover. And that's not a knock against Tim Jacobus. It's just like a totally different thing is happening here. And it's very strange because Tim Jacobus did do a cover for this book that was put on later editions.
Yep, he did a reprint in 2003.
Which displays just a tree man, a tree scientist, and an angry ent with a lab coat is in a lab looming over you. Again, we're in the lower perspective. We're looking up at this thing. And like, first of all, that doesn't happen. First of all, this is not a thing that's in the book. I wish it was, but it's not. It looks way pulpier, way kitschier than the regular cover.
And that's the main difference, especially when it comes to color. Like, Jim Thiessen's cover is muted. It uses muted colors, a lot of shading. Whereas Jacobus's work here and on Welcome to Dead House for his alt cover for this one too, it's very vibrant. It's very like super saturated.
There's like purple in there.
The colors in Jim Thiessen's cover for Stay Out of the Basement, it's like yellow, green, brown, and black. That's basically it, with highlights and shading. Whereas Tim Jacobus's work is you've got light blue, you've got like dark purple, bright purple. You got a bunch of chemicals behind this tree ent thing that are like bright orange, bright blue. You've got a bright green a floorboard that flows into a light blue. You can see why they chose Jacobus for all of the covers, because it's just like, I can imagine kids liking that style way more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, it feels more appealing. But part of me always wondered if Jim Thiessen got the project, what it would be like, and what Goosebumps would have become with him behind it.
Well, can I hit you with this? This is the cover for the Goosebumps cassette version of Stay Out of the Basement. If you'll please refer to that.
Oh my god.
It's incredible. It is wonderful. I must confess that was the audiobook cover that I saw.
I guess we'll plant.
Let's describe it.
It's like the whelp reaction face of a man, and he's just surrounded by leaves. Whelp, I guess I'm plants now.
That's a really great alternate title for Stay Out of the Basement. To visualize it, for anyone who's seen The Simpsons, it's that Homer gif where he's like backing into the bushes but frozen mid-frame as he's like disappearing into the bush.
Yes. I want to take a minute though and talk about just acknowledge the other nation's covers for this book, because I'm going to start with the bad one first. This sums up a lot of them. Here's France. So France is a child being strangled by vines. I found this is also true of I think the Dutch cover is this. Several covers are just this.
What I'm seeing right here, which is a kid with their eyes wide, their mouth wide open, screaming and being attacked by something.
Yeah.
Or, that's the default state for basically every Goosebumps book. Like, you could use this format for basically everything.
Oh, fully, yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Jacobus stands out so much, is because it's not just that. He does a lot of work making the covers interesting. It's way more like, what is going on here? Like, why is there like green goo dripping down the stairs?
What's this goo about?
Hint at the next book.
Foreshadowing. Here's the Korean cover.
What the fuck is that?
Oh my god.
Which is like, it's a very angular man shadowed with like whited out glasses, and he just has like a wreath growing out of his head.
What the hell? It's like in Hellboy style.
Yeah, it's like in Mike Mignola style, yeah. Now, the best of them, the very best besides the American cover, which I think is great, the Japanese cover of Stay Out of the Basement
is really good.
A whole other level. Like, the Japanese covers for Goosebumps books are playing a different game.
Yeah.
The Goosebumpsu is like is on a different level. This, like, I don't even know what's going on in it exactly. I mean, there's some stuff that is in the book. The tomatoes with faces are there.
Yeah,
they resemble immensely the Behelit from Berserk.
Absolutely, yep.
Which is what I thought when he described it originally. And there's like a plant person in like a Mr. Freeze chamber. Like,
yes,
it's fascinating. Like,
it really is. Like, these Japanese Goosebumps covers are fantastic. There are some stinkers in here, but I mean, you can't really do too much with Say Cheese and Die. So
it's really good though.
So we should talk about the other cover that I saw for another variation of the audiobook.
The classics version, the like re-release, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this was artwork done by Brandon Dorman, and it's basically it's like a combination between Jacobus and Thiessen. And it's basically the iconic door opening cover art from Thiessen mixed with the really vibrant colors of Jacobus.
Yeah, he's the standard artist now on all the new Goosebumps covers, having essentially replaced Jacobus. And I mean, I think it's perfectly fine. Like, I mean, I think it bridges the gap pretty well.
Yeah, the thing I would say is that with Brandon's stuff, it's very busy. It's very like kind of a mess. And that's just like my, art background, like grabbing me. It's like a comic book style, but it really doesn't look good at like lower resolutions or like the square format, because it's just like, what am I looking at? It's so, their vines are all over the place. So with that, is there anything else we wanted to talk about before we dive headfirst into the bush that is Stay Out of the Basement?
No. Let's get in there and grapple with the text. Let's talk about how this family can't play fucking Frisbee to save its life.
For real. Like, oh my God. Except one moment, which we'll talk about later, where all of a sudden, who threw the Frisbee? I think it was Casey.
Casey's always throwing the fucking Frisbee. Casey's always out there tossing.
At a certain point later, Casey nails his father in the head. And like, that accuracy out of nowhere. And man, if you could call that up whenever you wanted, this kid's got a future. Anyway, so the first few chapters of this book are basically the kids overreacting to their dad growing weed in their basement. But before we get to that, I keep getting ahead of myself. So the kids are outside. They're playing Frisbee.
Dad beefs it. Point one. Also, Casey is blonde. I have that down.
The only thing that I have in my notes for the beginning of this, for this specific chapter, is, I've got a bunch of things, like apparently there's one part where Margaret just thinks California.
Yes.
I just thought that she was a Red Hot Chili Pepper all of a sudden.
I would love to note they are in California, and that is important for reasons. Okay. They're in California, and that explains why everyone's wearing a jeans and t-shirt in the winter.
It might also explain them wearing shoes indoors, but we'll talk about it. So the other note I have in here is that they have an argument. So basically, Margaret and Casey are just outside throwing the Frisbee around.
Well, it starts out where Casey, I think, is playing Frisbee actually solo, and then throws it at his dad, and his dad's like,
Frisbee solo?
Dude, I don't know, you run after it like a dog, and then you throw it, and then you run back.
Again, this silly cannot play Frisbee.
Playing fetch with himself.
So he's like, Dad, catch, and his dad's like, no. And he just turns around. I think he says something like, I'm busy. And he just goes into the basement. And then Margaret's like, hey, I'll play. And then Casey's like, ooh, fun, And that's when they start, insulting each other as children do.
As children do.
It's just...
She throws like a girl, which is like, oh, come on, Casey. Get it together.
He insults her. He tells her, like, Dad throws better. You throw like a girl. And also, why'd Dad get fired? Why did he get fired?
The quote is, Casey goes, you throw like a girl. Margaret says, you throw like a chimpanzee.
Oh, that's right.
And then Casey says, why'd Dad get fired?
Well, okay, so also, Casey, somehow attempts to show off his mean frisbee skills, which, as established, he doesn't have. And Margaret says, you're the hot dog of the family.
Oh my god, yes, that's right.
Okay. Also, Margaret notes that everyone was so edgy these days.
Yeah.
And it is 1992, so...
They also get into an argument and say, you're acting like a 2-year-old. Well, you're acting like a 1-year-old. And I mentioned this to Rachel as soon as I finished that part. I have legit had this argument with my siblings before as a child. So very, very accurate. Good job, R.L. Stine. Oh, I'm sorry. Jovial Bob.
So it's basically established at this point that Dad has been acting a little weird. He's been distant, and he apparently has stopped calling Margaret all of her least favorite nicknames, like Princess and Fatso, which she says is because she's so thin, which is very funny, I guess.
It's very odd, extremely odd.
Bizarre.
Yeah, and Margaret specifically says nicknames are, quote, a sign of closeness.
I guess that's true.
I suppose it depends on the nickname. If you get called Eating Dog,
if you call Fatso, I think that's bad. I think it's bad to call people Fatso.
Yeah, I think that we're setting Margaret up here for some fucking body shame later on in life.
What's really interesting is, for the first half of this book, there's a ton of stuff where it's just Dad is in a weird place and nobody's happy about it. She says that Mom's been really tense since Dad's been home. Being fired really sucks, apparently. Because, everybody's just on edge that Dad's around a lot more.
Which, hey... That's a problem.
That's weird, right? They go inside and they're like, Mom, you look tired today. Which, fuck.
Yeah, it's your fucking father.
So they decide for fun to go see their dad in the basement. Because it's their house, too. Which, technically, that's technically true.
I absolutely highlighted that part. I'm like, yes, ownership, own that.
Get in there.
Live here too.
So they attempt to go down, but they don't actually make it. They just come to the door. They see their dad. He's bleeding. Mm-hmm. It should be noted, he's cut himself and is bleeding. And they attempt to contact him, and he does the only time, shockingly, that someone says it in this book, stay out of the basement.
In the book. We'll talk about the TV show later, but in the book, yes, he says it twice, which is very funny. Also, before we go forward, quote, Dad got fired because of the plants he was growing, unquote.
Yes.
Weed!
It's that dang shit.
420! Weed!
I really loved the way that they ended that chapter, where he says, stay out of the basement, he bellowed in a voice they'd never heard before. Because the chapter ends basically right. I don't know. It just kind of sets now the father's scary. Now he's a potential antagonist, or he's the antagonist now. It sets the whole tone for the rest.
Yeah. Before it was just oh, Dad's acting weird, but now it's oh, okay, something's definitely going on here.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was uncomfortable a lot in this book.
Yes.
With, the vibe of this house. Before it goes wild into Plant Zone, Dad's just a bad dad.
Yeah, he's yeah. This is what I wanted to say in the 3-sentence thing without you're watching the relationship between a girl and her dad deteriorate and turn into terror. This is a constant theme, and she's constantly talking about how afraid she is, and then feeling guilt that she feels this fear
that happens a lot
and doesn't want to.
Yes.
So it's so uncomfortable. Then after we watch the show, and we'll get to show it, I won't spoil the show, but the show is a whole lot different.
Yes,
and I think it's because the book has this just the book is like dark.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is like one of the reasons I think that the cover being different works better for this book is because the tone of this book for 80% of its runtime is a completely different thing than Welcome to Dead House, which is like, whoa, everything's weird. Like, oh, ghosts. Oh, I keep seeing ghosts in my bedroom. Like, this is a very different thing also because Margaret is very rarely gaslighting herself or being gaslit by anyone else. Like, Margaret is very aware that it is wrong that Dad is this way and continually brings it up. And like really pushes the issue that Dad is being weird. And even like when Dad's like, oh, don't worry about it. She's like, no, I'm fucking worried about it. Actually.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, we'll get there, but I could easily see this as like a metaphor for like living with a bipolar parent.
I mean, I absolutely like if Welcome to Dead House is the extremely relatable experience of moving to a new place that's weird and kind of stinky. Stay Out of the Basement is like the unfortunately relatable experience of like having to deal with parents who are, you know, occasionally or more often than occasionally difficult, like,
right,
or unfriendly. It's a weirdly serious topic for Goosebumps to be talking about, and I guess it's nice to think that maybe they've been replaced by a plant.
Yeah,
it's really like Invasion of the Body Snatchers type stuff.
Definitely in the show it is.
And it fits along the line of like back in the 90s where it was easier for kids to just like deal with the problems of their parents by just being like, oh, they're different people sometimes.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about like anger issues. We're not going to talk about anger management. We're not going to talk about bipolar issues.
I mean, like, if you took the plant out of this entirely, this could just be dealing with the dad who's going through a lot of stuff because he's been fired.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it is that. I mean, he is going through a lot of stuff. So chapter 2, enter Diane.
Diane's here, yay!
I love Diane.
So it's chapter 2 is 2 weeks later, and Dad's like not talking to Margaret at all, and Mom is having to leave because her sister is having an operation. Everything bad is happening in this household. And Mom's even like, do you think he'll notice me when I'm gone? Like, God.
Oh, the line for that where she like says like she portrays it as a joke, but like both her and Margaret kind of know like that's serious.
Not one.
Yeah.
Oh, and before we go any further, I forgot to mention this. The voice actress for the audiobook, whose name is Elizabeth Morton, she's in a lot of Law and Order stuff. So she's in SVU. The thing that I'm most interested in talking about is her work on the movie 40 Shades of Blue.
What?
Which I thought was going to be a 50 Shades of Grey propaganda movie.
Yep, that's what it sounds like to me, yeah.
But it came out years before, like 5 or 6 years before 50 Shades of Grey. So... I don't know what's going on there.
I was going to say, of her, she's doing the children's audiobook voice.
Yes.
Tara Sands was doing a voice actress voice.
Yes, which I appreciated a lot.
I loved it. She is doing a, like, everyone kind of talks like this when I want to do a boy's voice.
And that's the note that I have, that Elizabeth Morton uses the same voice at the beginning of this book for both Casey and the dad.
Yeah.
Mr. Brewer. Dr. Brewer, I'm sorry. I need to put some respect on his name.
Yeah, it's Doctor, please. She also does the thing that people do in audiobooks that drives me nuts. When she does a stay out of the basement line, it's clearly being yelled.
Yeah.
So instead, she like whisper yells. She, stay out of the basement! There's only one person I've ever heard read a book and actually yell, and it's Basil Rathbone, like the actor. When he was reading Edgar Allan Poe, he'll sometimes, when he's reading it, just scream. Like, and it's so fucking scary.
Just like randomly, it's not even in the book. It'll just be like he'll be in the middle of a sentence and go, ah!
For the love of God! It's like, Jesus Christ.
Incredible.
So one of the three voices that our narrator has is Diane, and she's there. She's there bidding goodbye to their mom for some reason. And Casey is watching a film, which is, quote, great if you like seeing people blown up and their guts flying all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's described as like, oh, yeah, their guts are spilling all over. And Casey goes, yeah, it's neat.
His behavior after that is because they're trying to talk and he's just constantly telling them to shut up.
Yeah, he's legitimately
Hey, I'm trying to watch the guts!
Which is funny because, like, I guess he appreciates the sound design of the guts spilling all over. Like, but I just have in my notes here that Casey is a psychopath confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yes.
fucking Christ.
Also, Diane's a psychopath because she's like, it's always a pretty afternoon here. I don't even notice it anymore. California.
Yeah.
God, everyone's a red hot chili pepper in California.
Diane's a science freak.
Oh, yes. Science freak.
Margaret, like Teen Talk Barbie, callback to an earlier segment, hates math and science.
And at a certain point, like, in order to get Diane and Margaret to shut up, Casey, I think it was a quote where he, like, jabs them with his shoe. And at that point, I'm just like, what? Why is Casey wearing shoes indoors? What happened here? Does no one care about, like, tracking mud and shit into?
No, it's California. There is no mud.
Oh, right.
There's no mud there. Diane is very curious because of being a science geek. Or a science freak. I should say.
Get it right.
Freak. She's fucking nasty. Like, you don't even know.
She's nasty.
That's Margaret being a little jealous and calling her she's a freak. My
Science
friend's a freak. I'm so jelly.
I'm science fatso.
Diane asks of their dad, is he building a Frankenstein monster? And excuse me, Diane, that's Frankenstein's monster. And then she asks, is he, or some kind of RoboCop, which, excuse me, Diane, that's Robert's cop.
Look, she at least tried. You know, she didn't just say building a Frankenstein. So let's give her some credit.
So they're like, well, he's a botanist, so no. So probably not. So Diane dares them, as apparently she always does, to go downstairs to the basement. And Margaret, like, deluding herself, is like, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's not, Margaret. It's never gonna be. Like, you know it's
And there's a line where it's like, Diane always dared Margaret to do things she didn't want to do.
Diane sucks.
And it's like...
You fucking freak.
This fucking
freak.
Freak. You freak. But in Diane's defense, it's not really a dare if you dare someone to do something like, hey, I dare you to drink a glass of water. I dare you to eat a hamburger. It's like not really a dare.
Well, in this case, it is though, because at the end of the first chapter, they get screamed at by their dad, like, "Do not come down here."
No, but what I'm saying is that that Margaret's complaining that Diane always dared her to do things that she didn't want to do. But it's like, if you want to do them, that's not a dare. That's what I'm saying.
True.
It's like,
Yes.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But in 10 years, Diane will dare Margaret to try some weed
Yeah, it's
at
gonna
a
be
party,
like,
and it's
do
going to
this
begin.
crack. If you don't, you're not courageous.
You know, later on we'll get to books that have like sequels within the Goosebumps like line, and I would really like. Honestly, I would really like for Jovial Bob to come back to Goosebumps, and I almost said for Jovial Bob to come back to R.L. Stine. I really want Jovial Bob to come back to Goosebumps and then do like books for adults where the characters from the books have grown up and they're like dealing with the aftermath of everything that fucking happened in these books. Because some of the shit in this book is fucking wild, man.
Oh, there's some wild shit in here. Speaking of wild shit, I would like to talk about this basement.
Oh, can we please? Let's talk about this basement. First off, it's very moist, which is good for your hair and skin.
I have that written down as well. It's so moist.
It's so moist. I think Diane, or maybe it's Diane and Margaret, but I think either one of them or both of them says moist way too much.
Yeah.
It's just like her favorite word.
This basement is amazing because you imagine, it's going to be very spooky. To the left, when you're in the basement, as noted, it's just a rec room with a ping pong table in it. It's just a normal basement over there. To your right is where all the fucky plants are. And halogen lamps. Jovial Bob has mentioned halogen twice in two books.
It's really, he's got a halogen thing.
And
Well, wait, first off, is it a rainforest in there? Because I heard about rainforests in school, so maybe Dad's building a rainforest.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so yes, Casey says that his dad might be building a rainforest. There's an amazing version of this line in the TV show.
Yeah.
where Casey says, maybe Dad's doing a rainforest. What's that?
That's all. Everyone
What's
knows that classic 90s song, Everybody Do the Rainforest.
I hope you like descriptions of plants, because this book has a lot of them.
Yes.
Jovial Bob will be describing plants for at least 30% of the runtime of this book.
Including a breathing plant, which
they're breathing so much.
They breathe a lot, and I just wrote down in my notes, self-smoking weed? Anyway, continue.
God.
They breathe, they sigh a lot.
Yes.
And they moan frequently.
We're forgetting one thing, though. It's so hot and moist down there that Casey has to take off his shirt. And he just leaves
what a
it on the
bod!
ground. Yes, and Diane actually said that. And last night I was reading the book, and I said out loud, ooh, fucking gross.
Yes.
Why, Diane? What the fuck?
Stop.
I hated it.
Diane's 12, right?
Diane, she's a fucking freak. Okay? She's a fucking freak.
She's not only a science freak, but just a freak.
What a bot. He's played a lot of frisbee, so
Man, I want to get a bot. I'm going to go outside and throw the frisbee with myself.
Frisbee alone. They also find 2 glass booths, which are connected by wires. And I assume this is supposed to be like the Fly kind of thing.
That's the impression that I got, yeah.
I can only think they're like teleportation chambers, which makes me think we're doing the Fly, which kind of. At which point Casey, an absolute sicko, just grabs the booth and is like, oh my god, I can't let go, as he's being electrocuted.
He pretends to be electrocuted while talking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I read that, and immediately my brain started doing work, and so I have a whole paragraph here where I was outlining the amount of current that would have to be running in the chamber to cause him to reach the no let go threshold, which is 15 to 17 milliamps.
I love the dedication.
Yes.
But it turns out he's just a fucker.
Yeah, I have written down the Kid Brothers in Goosebumps books are batting 0 for 2.
So this is our first R.L. Stine moment of this book, where it's a fake out cliffhanger that is fucking nothing. And then they start tickling him.
Yeah.
Which is, I was also not cool with that.
I think they were sitting on him too, weren't they?
Yeah, they were like, they pinned him down and were tickling him.
After the what a bod thing, I was like, I don't like this.
This is weird.
So the plants like start drooping as if they're sad that Casey didn't actually die. I have a note there.
Yeah.
So the plants like bummed out. They were like, yes!
Got one! Oh, damn it.
So Diane says, your dad is weird, and then just bolts out of the fucking house. At which point their dad immediately arrives home. Like, instantly.
This happens in both the book and the TV show. Dr. Brewer is like a speed demon or some shit. He is just driving like 120 down the fucking highway. He is so fast.
So they come back up and they're like, it's fine, we made it out. And then Casey realizes he's half naked.
In the book, in the show, I guess they felt some kind of way about him not wearing it. Also, I should mention real quick that this was my first Goosebumps book. So this has been a real fun trip down memory lane. And right around this part, sorry, someone above us is banging. I think we're being too loud.
Oh.
No, I think they're just banging.
Oh, they're just banging. Is it their kid? Anyway, the kid's just like tripping and falling onto the floor constantly.
That's what kids do.
They're just goofy.
I'm a baby.
I'm a baby, bada boo. Oh,
Daddy, look at me. Here I go.
I'm imagining that sound as both the kid falling and shitting himself.
It's both. Yeah, it's fell and started. Yeah.
I'm keeping all this in. Anyway, so yeah, this was my first Goosebumps book, so this has just been a real trip down memory lane. And right here where this section happens is where I wrote in my notes, I totally remember the twist of this.
You remember?
But for some reason, just like a lock in my brain got like unlocked and suddenly Goosebumps knowledge flowed into me. But yeah.
So Casey doesn't have a shirt on, and it's very important that he get it back. So, like an idiot, he says it will only take a second, which is obviously not true. It's just not true. So he has like a fucking panic attack.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, but he'll know that we were down there.
To be clear, it should take a second to run down there, grab the shirt, and come back.
But Margaret's like, no, you can't do it. They are fucking losing it. Meanwhile, Dad has been sidetracked because Mr. Henry, who Margaret notes is a moron, stops him in the yard, and they're just like chatting away. This part of the chapter is now all in Margaret's perspective as she's just waiting for Casey to come back up the stairs. And Dad like leaves Mr. Henry. They both quote unquote spun around, and then he just like stops to like inspect some rosebuds for a while. Like, Meanwhile, Margaret's like, Casey! Oh, how her dad can't hear this from the porch. Like,
it's especially weird in the show where she is like screaming down to Casey in the basement, who apparently Casey can't hear her at all. It's just Margaret. Apparently Margaret has a really low screaming voice, but
she's doing an audiobook screaming voice. Casey. But then this is the thing about this book. This book is written in third person, not first person.
Yes.
So we have more than one point of view character. So we jump cut to Casey, who is jumping down the stairs. I described chapter 6, the Casey chapter, as the microwave hallway of MGS4 when it's picking up a t-shirt.
Oh man, you could totally edit that together with the TV show. Holy shit.
The t-shirt's not that far away, but Casey has so many like reservations about the plants, which are stiffening, I should note.
God.
Stiffening, lots of moaning.
Yeah.
Very moist.
Yeah. So he's just like slowly reaching out for the shirt until finally one gives him a hug.
And doesn't let go. Doesn't want to let go.
He describes it as tightening gently and notably not strangling him. So it's like very weakly hugging him. So Margaret arrives, frees him, and Dad's right at the top of the stairs. Dad's mad.
He's incredibly mad. His hands are described as being balled into tight fists. His face rigid with anger. So, I mean, as a kid, that would be incredibly terrifying.
Yeah.
I was like, this is way too mad for this book. Like,
yeah.
He takes way too long to ask if they're okay. Like, way too long.
Yeah. He's just kind of stewing there with his balled fist.
And instead he says, I'm very disappointed in both of you. Which, withering parent commentary.
Oh, puns. Here we go. I might leave.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Then the kids are like, oh, I thought he was going to yell at us, which is, But instead they have a conversation at their Formica table.
I guess he's already turned by this point, maybe, because he's...
Great question.
It says here, as if his eyes went from one to the other, as if studying them, as if seeing them for the first time. His expression was totally flat, almost robot-like, revealing no emotion at all.
I also have that written down.
It is implied that this is the moment where spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like the show and the book have different moments where he's turned into a plant.
Yeah.
I would just like to, we'll save it for later, but I don't think in the show he's meant to be a plant right now. But in the book, this feels like he's a plant man.
Yeah, there is a clear moment in the show where it's like, oh, there is something on him that is a signifier.
Yes. So Casey just straight up is like, what's the deal with those plants? What's up with that? Meanwhile, Margaret's like, I'm really interested in the plants, Dad. What kind of experiments are you doing? And Dad's like, I'll talk about it later. Which is nothing. I mean, it's absolutely nothing. At this point, I wrote down that Dad is the villain from Sailor Moon S. So all you Sailor Moon heads out there will remember that. So Casey's like still freaked out, and Margaret offers the worst advice of all time, which is just don't think about the basement.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. Yeah, Casey specifically complaining that like, oh, I'm gonna have nightmares because of this, and yeah, Margaret's just like, don't think about it.
Well, she admits like immediately, like, oh
That's
wow,
not
that
good
advice
advice.
is lame because I'm gonna think about the basement.
Yeah.
And then to add insult to injury, they get like Aunt Eleanor's in the fucking ICU.
Yeah.
Like, Aunt Eleanor's
shit.
dying.
Like there is a whole other like if Jovial Bob wanted to push out a couple more chapters, there is a whole subplot of like, what the fuck is going on with her sister?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is happening there?
Well, mom's just like, don't worry. So Margaret calls her mom to be like, Dad's fucking weird. The plants are evil. Casey took his shirt off.
Diane said, nice pod.
Yeah, and Diane said, yeah, nice bod. What the fuck, Mom? Explain this to me.
Mom, I don't want Diane over here anymore.
And Mom's like, oh, your dad's just trying to prove himself.
Yes.
He's trying to prove that he should have been fired, which is... like this is the origin of people building bombs in their basement.
Dude,
Yeah.
absolutely. She says here he wants to show them that they made a big mistake. And
Like,
I thought,
uh-oh.
oh no.
Yeah, there was a line before, I think Margaret said to Diane or Casey, she said, botanists don't get a chance to blow things up.
Yeah, that's right. Casey's like, is he gonna blow up his lab? And he's like really excited about it because he's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, he's a fucking psycho. He's a nice bod psycho.
Margaret also noticed that Dad has started wearing a Dodgers cap.
Yes.
And it is dorky, and he never takes it off. And Mom's like, what? The only thing that shocks their mom is that he's wearing a baseball cap.
I can't believe it.
Also, Margaret is like the most emotionally mature 12-year-old to have ever existed, because she's like, I feel so bad for laying this stuff on my mom because she's got so much going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, girl, you can lay this on your mom. Like, this is fucked up. Like,
She even probably appreciates the, distraction from what's going on with her
we
sister.
can forget about my dying sister and think about my deadbeat husband.
It's kind of not satisfying though, because her mom's just like, well, his work's important to him. His work, it's just like repeating it, like not getting anything out of it though. No, like Dad's really freaking me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but babe, like, his work, it's important.
He's
Don't worry
fired.
about it. He's gonna show the whole world one day that everybody made a mistake for judging him.
He's gonna take his revenge upon society. Such a lust for revenge. So Margaret's like, that phone call was pretty exhausting. I'm gonna go make a sandwich. Everybody's making sandwiches in this book. Like, just to let you guys know, this family eats exclusively sandwiches and exclusively egg salad sandwiches as well. Like,
I kind of, it reminds me of we eat exclusively Hamburger Helper.
No,
but when I would go to my
Delicious.
my grandmother, she was like, "You want a sandwich?" It was any just variation of like whatever you could stick between two pieces of bread. So it is
Including
easy
bread?
and cheap.
Did you have
It
bread
is
sandwiches?
easy.
No.
Damn it.
but when Margaret's like, I want to make that sandwich, she comes to the kitchen and her dad's just like going to town on something at the sink. Just like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
She's like, and so he eats it, doesn't notice her, heads out. Margaret's like, what is he eating so voraciously? It's plant food.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh no.
Which, I mean, admittedly, that's weird.
Yeah. There's emphasis here. He didn't just eat it, she realized. He shoveled it into his mouth and gulped it down as if he liked it, as if he needed it. It's italicized.
Needed it.
Which leads to one of our classic little brother fake out scares where a hand grabs Margaret's shoulder, but it's just her shitty brother.
Yup.
Who like doesn't care about the plant food at all. He's it's probably an experiment. What experiment, Casey? To eat mud?
I don't know, man. Have you ever been to Mud Donald's?
I just love dirt.
His response to it's interesting because he just keeps laughing. That she finds it a little like odd, I guess. He's just constantly like, he just finds it funny. He really does not care that his dad was eating dirt.
Yeah.
I have it written down, Casey is being a shit.
which is, typical for Casey.
And honestly, it's typical for little brothers in every book of Goosebumps thus far. 2 for 2. We're on this.
Yep, definitely. And this is about the time when you start to realize, like, oh, okay, Casey's going to always be defending their dad.
Pretty much.
And Margaret's always going to be, like, curious and knowing that something weird is happening.
I mean, I think it's established in the first chapter that he and Dad are pretty close. Margaret says that they're always playing video games together, which is like, well, all right, cool, Dad. I guess I get where it's coming from, that, like, because he is maybe closer with their dad, he just, is less easy to convince that their dad is a monster mash, I guess. But Margaret again points out he never calls her fatso anymore.
I'm not even sure who actually called her fatso, because she's described as being that
everybody
way.
calls her fatso.
It said some members of her family, and it's like, well, how many people?
Not Aunt Eleanor. Aunt Eleanor never did it.
Because she apparently she's as skinny as her dad. So why would her dad call her fatso if they're both equally skinny?
Maybe he has some serious body image issues.
I think the whole family does.
Well, except for Casey, who we know has a nice
God.
I don't know who said it, but someone says that Dad is out of his tree.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
So
He lost his bananas? I think it's Casey.
Yeah, I lost his bananas. Yeah, it was a double whammy too. Like, you mean Dad's out of his tree? You think he's bananas? It's just like, oh God.
At which Margaret literally says, Dad is becoming a plant. She just says, Dad's a plant. I got it. I've solved it. Crack the case. At which Casey says, maybe we're all plants, and you're plant man versus weed woman.
Yep.
And then he says, plant man kills.
And
which,
then he
by the way, Plant Man, copyright Marvel. Also, I guess they couldn't get the rights to Swamp Thing.
I guess so. I'm surprised there hasn't been a Plant Man versus Weed Woman Goosebumps book in the intervening 20 years. And then Casey demands that Margaret make him another sandwich, which you're 11, you can put shit between bread.
Yeah.
It's fucking egg salad. Just fucking get a spoon, put it on the bread, eat it, you dumb shit.
Fucking Casey.
Affectionately known as dumb shit, you dummy. You fucking idiot. Oh.
That's a chapter pause too. Like, it's just like, make me another sandwich, and then it heads off to the next section. And I don't know. I highlighted that.
I highlighted it too. It's like, at which point we jump to Diane's, where they're playing Frisbee some more.
Is that a California thing, or does he think that's a Because I think they also have like some sort of like, I think they have an avocado salad.
They do. I don't know if maybe he was predicting the college ultimate trend, or I don't know. I just don't know what the Frisbee signifies. I just don't know. In Welcome to the House, it's baseball. In Stay Out of the Basement, it's Frisbee. Everybody fucking plays Frisbee, and they're all fucking bad at it. Diane then asks, what's it like having a mad scientist for a dad?
Really
to which Margaret thinks, they're only in movies, right? I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to this question. I've never applied mad scientist to anyone.
Yeah, you only see them. Yeah, no, she's got a point. Like the moniker of mad scientist, like the idea of using your intellect to like hurt people on a grand scale, is like, oh wait, no, nuclear nukes and the Manhattan Project. Whoops.
Science is often bad, but is it often mad? That's the question.
That's true. That's true. You can be a bad scientist, but can you be a mad scientist?
I feel like it implies that you're doing big science outside of the scope of academia, and that people would normally be like, well, that seems unethical.
I guess that's what a mad scientist amounts to, doing something
unethical outside of the testing of the science world.
Yeah, I guess. Diane straight up says that, by the way, your dad killed somebody. Just to let you know. My dad said your dad blew up his lab and murdered like 6 people.
I didn't catch that. Holy shit.
No, she's like, She says, my dad says Dr. was fired because his experiments got out of control and he may have killed someone.
Oh, okay, that's probably why it didn't register.
I mean, Margaret immediately is like, no, he didn't. That's not true. And Diane's like, oh, let's talk about 11-year-olds who are dating.
Yeah, that's probably why I totally glossed over the other shit, because suddenly we're talking about 11-year-olds dating. Like, what? Wait, huh?
Meanwhile, Casey is in the corner like, lemon trees are cool.
Yeah, let's do a lemon tree. Like, what the fuck?
Are these ripe? Fucking eat one and find out, you idiot. Anyway.
What? Casey's like, we gotta get our own lemon tree. They're cool.
They're cool.
What the fuck does that mean, Casey?
And Margaret, by this point, she's like, no. The last thing we need is another fucking plant. Already hating plants because of her dad.
Agree.
They go home, I guess, toss a frisbee at their dad, knocking his Dodger's head off and revealing that he has leaves growing out of his head.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, man. Yeah, the way they're described is very... Oh, it's gross.
It's very gross. It feels like... Because they jump right into it with their dad being like, oh, kids, don't worry about it. It's fine. But Margaret is very much thinking about what it would be like to have leaves uncurling from your scalp.
Yeah.
And is writing out waves of nausea.
Yeah, she like gulps air, I think she says, to like avoid vomiting.
It's very uncomfortable, and then Dad comes over and like puts his arms around them, which at that point I'd be like, ah, and says, and I quote, I guess you think your dad's gotten pretty weird, huh? Fucking yeah.
You have leaves growing out of your head, dude. Yeah.
It's a really startling moment because, he's not talking with them. And when he does, he's like angry. But then in this moment, he's like, no, everything's fine. Let's just huddle under the shade of this tree and I'll calm you guys down. It's like it just goes from here to here. It's like manipulative, behavior. Like, here, let me give you some sort of loving attention. Everything's cool. These leaves don't matter. Ha. No biggie. Don't tell your mom.
Don't tell mom. It's fine.
Yeah, the thing for me was that he was described as bald and just with like the leaves coming out.
Yeah,
and that imagery is just like, ugh.
Yeah,
it's very gross.
Yeah,
it's very gross.
Woo.
Yeah. So a very disgusting father explains the concept of Mendelian genetics to children who do not know what DNA is. But he says, what if we found the IQ gene? Dad, we're getting really close to eugenics at this point.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, for real.
But he's building a plant that's an animal.
So it's like a cat. It's like a plant cat.
It's like a plant cat, which if Dad had started with a plant cat, it would not be this big a problem. Like, if we were beginning with plant cat. But he's breaking down cells electronically, which I don't know what that means.
I have no fucking idea.
It sounds like The Fly. He's doing The Fly in the basement with plants.
Oh, it sounds even worse than The Fly. It sounds like he's like jerking off into a cup and then putting an electrode on it.
Oh my god.
We need to talk about that later, where they talk about, I put human material into
he
plant
talks about
material,
molecules
and I'm like,
a lot.
Oh my god.
He uses the word molecule loosely.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like this dude is just jerking off into his planters in the basement.
But he's just like, don't worry about those leaves. They're a side effect. They're a side effect of, again, what? of what? Like, which Margaret does ask to herself. She's like, I don't understand what he's fucking talking about. But Casey's like, that sounds great, Dad. Good job. You did a great job.
Hey, Margaret, isn't our dad so great?
Hey, Daddy, you're doing a great job. I love how you made those plants breathe. That's really cool, Dad.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad, can I have some of that mud? It looks real good. You're scarfing it down real fast.
But Margaret's like, that motherfucker didn't answer any of my questions.
Yeah, I think her question was like, why the fuck? And he was like, anyway, gotta go.
But she is happy that her dad is doing something cool, unless he lied about it.
Why Dad lie to us?
Why did Dad lie? Which she decides to reconcile with at 2:30 in the morning when she goes to her dad's bathroom and sees that his cut is still bleeding, but it's bleeding green.
Dun dun dun. I need to stop doing that sound effect. But
So what I did actually, I saw an interview with R.L. Stine where he said that comedy and horror were actually really close to one another, which, okay.
Yeah.
And he said that basically he ends every chapter as if it's a punchline.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've sort of, but it also feels like he ends every chapter like it's the setup to a punchline, because he'll always do this thing where it's like, uh-oh, there were leaves on his head. Next chapter, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's like they're all cliffhangers, and then the follow through it just leaves a lot to be desired.
It's weird because, like, in the end of this chapter, she runs away because her dad heard her, and she's like, oh, he's gonna come after me. And she does the incredible, always the classic staple hide under your bed sheets technique. But dad doesn't come over. He just ignores that completely.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm dad.
I mean, to be fair, he is leaking.
I mean, he is leaking. He's leaking. It's true. But she is quote unquote terrified of her dad now.
Yeah.
But not so terrified that she can't go get some water at 3 a.m. Which leads to another younger brother jump scare.
God damn it. Jovial Bob.
That's
Why?
Casey, you fuck.
Casey, I swear to Christ. You made me drop the water, and then you made me forget to drink the water that I was so thirsty for.
Yeah, he makes her drop the water and wants her to clean it up.
Yeah, that little fucking dick. They have
Affectionately.
But yeah, like Margaret's like, yeah, you should clean this up. And he's like, nah, you fucking dropped it. And it's like, what? You fucking made me drop it because you played a fucking prank on me and scared the shit out of me. Fuck you. And so they both, I think, end up cleaning it up, and then they go to bed.
They don't just go to bed, because they hear a moan from the basement, at which point Margaret says, I don't think a tomato plant would make a sound like that.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing a later event. Can I note the least believable thing in this entire book is that Margaret forgot there was no school the next day.
Yes, that is. If you, I made a mental note of that too. Like, if you don't have school the next day as a kid, you know.
I don't care if your dad is a plant monster or not. I would know that I was off from fucking school.
You're a kid. That's like your whole life. It's your kid job to like go to school. It's like, okay, I don't have work tomorrow, so fucking, of course you would remember that. The least believable shit.
So using her day off, Margaret goes down to her father's bedroom to check on her dad and finds him gone. But his bed is moving. Why is his bed moving? It's covered in dirt. What's that about? The bed is full of worms
and bugs.
Yes, which I think is grosser than just worms.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yes, bugs are, yeah, it depends. Yeah, some bugs are cool. Like, I'll take a jumping spider any day, but...
Worms, they crawl around, but what are they going to do? Insects, they, like, jump.
Yeah,
like,
they'll get you.
They'll get you. They'll come at you.
Oh my god, silverfish? Ugh, fuck. No.
Oh,
No.
Yeah. So we get yet another cliffhanger, and at this point, I would just say the book goes into, like, maximum overdrive at this point. Like, we've had 10 chapters of, like, relatively tame, weird dad situation for 10 chapters. At this point, it becomes a Goosebumps book.
Right.
At this point, it just was like, all right, moving on. We're fucking in it now, boys. Because Margaret's like having a fucking breakdown. She tells Casey about this. His mind is blown. He's like, okay, so dad's fucking terrifying. I'm scared of dad. He's a plant monster. Diane's on board. She's like, call the police. Call the police about your fucking weird dad.
This is why I love Diane.
But then Margaret's like, is there a law against being a mad scientist? I mean, fair question.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because dad made lunch. It's delicious green.
I remember when my parents made green for me when I was a kid.
I hate the food scene in this book.
Yes, it's incredibly awful.
What's so long? Their dad's like, you gotta eat it! Eat it!
Yeah, he's so adamantly like, okay, so what happens is the dad, Dr. Brewer, is saying, he like, hey kids, time for some lunch. Gets 2 bowls, puts them on the table. The kids sit down, and he's just like, okay, eat. And the bowls are described as like containing just green snot, basically, just like nasty green shit. And they're both like, oh, this smells awful. What the fuck is this? And the dad's just like, I told you to fucking eat it. Itadakimasu, and then eats the fucking green snot shit. But yeah, the dad gets really, really, really pushy.
He describes them as his guinea pigs. Which
Yeah.
Again,
If you want to get someone to eat something, don't call them a guinea pig.
no.
That reminds me of a story of my parents. My mom had a thing of milk, and she gave it to my dad and was like, "Hey, drink this. And my dad's like, "Okay," and then takes a full swig, spits it out, and is like, "It was curdled. It was all curdled." And my mom's like, "Yeah, I thought it smelled bad."
Oh my god.
That reminds me that when I came back from Disney World when I was a kid, I was staying with my cousin and her children, and I opened their fridge. We've been gone for like a week and a half, and so I opened her fridge and they had milk in there.
Oh, no.
And doing a thing I've never done in my entire life, standing in full view of my cousin, just drank out of the carton. It was curdled completely.
Oh no.
And I was like, why did I do that? So while in the midst of Dad like screaming the kids have to eat, he also points out that Aunt Eleanor is fine.
Yeah.
that Aunt Eleanor is fine and their mom's coming home. And I guess he wanted them to tell Mom what great kids they'd been eating his disgusting slop. And again, like the convergence of all these events, right? Because we're running out of time. Dad's boss, Mr. Martinez, shows up and it's like, "Hey kids, how's it going? I came here to check on your dad and see what cool stuff he's been doing." And they're like, "Oh, perfect timing." And they do the classic pour the food out in the sink.
No, they didn't pour it out in the sink. They poured it out in the trash can.
Oh, you're right.
I have a note here where I'm like, "No, pour it out in the sink. What are you doing?"
Exactly.
You could just grind it up in the garbage disposal or something. He's going to find it if you throw it in the trash can.
True. It's a bad plan, but they often have those.
Yeah.
So,
And it ends up not mattering at all. So,
no, it doesn't matter whatsoever. Mr. Martinez shows up. He's very affable and friendly. He wants to see Dad's work. And Casey's like, maybe Dad will get his job back. To which Margaret said, if Dad makes plant animal people, he won't need a job. That's how science works.
yeah, just get the plant clones to do everything for you.
You don't need a job. The chapter ends like bizarrely also. They just like don't talk about the next thing that happens. Like it's very weird to me compared to the show. Like Martinez shows up, they go in the basement, end of chapter. Cut to Dad leaving to go fix their neighbor's sink.
Yep.
It's just like not talking about Mr. Martinez. He's just gone. Like
We just assume that he left or something. In the show, they make a point of like definitely hammering that.
Dad, who I would like to note again at this point, we think is a plant clone,
Yes.
goes over to fix Mr. Henry's sink. So he still knows how to do that. Ponder that one. Ponder that a plant even knows what a sink is. But let alone is like, oh yeah, I know about socket wrenches.
Especially when he could just easily call him up and be like, "Hey, yeah, something came up. I'm a plant now. I'll see you later."
But he does it anyway, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go back down to the basement. This is our time. This is the chance we need to do this. But Dad previously installed locks on the door, which I just like to note, if you're a scientist doing any science at home, you should probably have a lock on the door.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have kids at home, I mean, come on. Like, that's not that weird.
No.
That's not that weird.
I mean, my dad had he's a computer engineer, and he just locked the door.
But it doesn't even matter because Casey just fucking runs over and is like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I learned how to pick locks.
Hell yeah.
From Kevin."
The master of lock picking, Kevin.
Kevin, the neighborhood deviant.
And then Margaret's like, "Yeah, Kevin's a good person to know." It's like, okay.
Kevin absolutely is gonna go to jail in 10 years.
He's gonna be in fucking juvie in like a year.
You fucking know Kevin's into some shit. So they go downstairs in the basement. They describe it as one being hot and moist and thick.
Of course.
The plants are taller. The leaves are slapping against each other and making a soft, wet sound.
Oh, God.
God damn it.
This happens multiple times that tomatoes just fall off the vine and plop in around. There's a lot of tomato falling in this book. And the plants are established as definitely not normal.
Definitely not.
Casey is like, a plant's got me! Cliffhanger. Chapter 14, it's a fucking squirrel.
Dude.
Yeah, what the shit was that?
The most disappointing shit ever.
But hey, it turned out to be a friend.
Yeah. That this squirrel was our friend. A direct quote from the book, that squirrel was our friend.
Because it leads to a way out. Because
Yes,
Casey's like, get this fucking squirrel out of here. And he's just like shooing it till the squirrel jumps out of the basement window.
Yeah.
The book gives you a life lesson. Squirrels are always getting in. And that is true if you're a homeowner. They are always getting in. Somewhere in your home, there is a squirrel.
They're furry cockroaches,
This is
basically.
true.
They're basically furry cockroaches. Just know they're in there somewhere. But it turns out there's just been an open window the whole time, which means they didn't even need to do the lock picking shit. They could have just gone in the window.
Right.
Yep.
Margaret instantly is like, okay, let's leave. Time to go. Time to get out. And until they hear noises in the supply closet, and Casey finds Dr. Martinez's jacket and tie. So now we remember that Dr. Martinez was here.
He absolutely was here. And now the kids are like, wait, did you see him leave? I didn't see him leave. He's still here somewhere. What happened to him? Where's his body?
Where is his body? But there's no time to ponder that because someone's coming into the basement.
Oh my God.
In a weird cliffhanger, Margaret's like, we have to hide. But then they don't hide at all. They just leave through the window, which the squirrel, who turned out to be a friend, informed them of. It's just like a weird, I don't know why they even would say hide. Why would they just say run? There's no hiding to be done. There's no hiding at all. We're entering into a strange part of the book. We're entering into some strange things because in quick succession, Dad comes in. All right, they sneak out, they go around back, do a little, Scooby-Doo shit, and they're like, oh, we were just outside. And Dad's like, you never used to lie to me. Because they left the door open. Kevin can teach you to pick a fucking lock, but he can't teach you not to leave the door open? Come on. Dad explains that Martinez took his jacket off because he got hot. And then he's like, hey, just don't go back in the basement, guys. Don't do that. Don't do that. And then he heads back out to fix that sink, I guess.
Again, the sinks are calling me.
Well, he needed more tools. He left them tools.
Right.
And then they just have a bike ride with Diane and have some tomato soup and an avocado salad.
Yep.
And they're all very happy because Mom's coming back. And they're reading 17 and People.
Yeah.
They're hanging out under the sassafras tree.
The sassafras tree, which is a real thing. There are trees called sassafras.
Yeah, I searched it because it was a very... I mean, he called out a specific tree.
Yeah.
But a quick search was like, they're mostly northeastern part of North America.
Wait, so not California.
Yes, so not California.
Yeah.
So, this is all very weird. I have a note, this is all very weird, because it's like Jovial Bob got to the basement and got to Martinez's clothing and was like, oh wait, I need 30 more pages of book. So they just leave, have a pleasant time riding bikes, reading magazines. Mom's coming home, and Casey's like, I need to fly a kite today. I need to fly a kite today.
Jonesing for that kite.
So, but they're like, but where are the kites? Oh, they're in the basement. and Casey's like, oh, let's go down and get it. They've just completely forgotten their dad being a weird plant thing. It's totally forgotten this point in the book. They're just like, oh, I'll go down and get the kite from the basement. As if that's a thing we would do and haven't just spent 16 fucking chapters talking about how the basement's bad.
This part of the book feels really weird because it as you said, Mario, it feels like, it's bloated, or specifically so to meet some kind of quota. But the other thing is that for me, the act of unlocking the basement and going down there feels like that's going to lead to a resolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it feels so weird to just have them be like, oh, let's just escape and then we're found. And then we go back and do the same shit again. Because the thing that we kind of glanced over is that when they find the jacket, does that happen coming up, or that already...
No, it already happened.
Yeah. So that when they find the Mr. Martinez's stuff, their dad has to be like, no, he got hot, and which is what Mario said. But it's in upcoming right now, we're going to find out that Mr. Martinez is he also left his pants,
Other clothes.
and his wallet and his Amex, and it's
His
like,
Amex, yes.
which, hey, charge that up immediately. But it just feels disjointed. It feels like Jovial Bob like took the ending of this and like split it up to like run it out, you know? It's like all of this stuff should be happening, and everything that we're going to talk about right now should have happened after they like picked the lock and got into the basement.
Yeah, because now that they're back in, they find the clothes. They're like, so that was a fucking lie, obviously.
Yeah, Dad fucking lied again.
And they hear like bang on the door. They're like, should we open it? Should we open it? I mean, fucking yeah. Yes, obviously.
Of course.
Open the fucking door. But it's nailed shut. So then they go and get a fucking claw hammer.
Yeah.
And the kids, they don't just pry a 2x4 off the door. They don't just pry that off. This is wild to me. They pry the whole fucking door off of its hinges.
Yup.
Look, they're kids. They don't know. They're just like, fuck.
Did Kevin teach you that? Check this out. If the lock thing doesn't work, just fucking pry the door off. Fucking adults don't know.
Oh my god, what if Kevin is like some 20-year-old fucking delinquent?
Kevin works down at the fucking Blockbuster. He's like, listen, kids, I'm 23 years old. I've wasted my whole fucking life. If you hear banging from your basement, you gotta pry the door off its hinges.
Also, let me teach you how to steal cable.
Also, let me teach you. Someone comes at you, take your palm into the nose. They break the nose, goes right in their fucking brain, kills them instantly.
Oh my god.
So they open the door to, I would say, one of the grossest things I've read in a Goosebumps book or seen in Goosebumps, not represented well in the TV show. This room it's trucked up, gang.
Yeah.
There's just a bunch of plants in there with human limbs, and I don't just mean like, oh, this plant has a hand growing out of it. It does. It has a hand without any fucking fingers on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a plant that has legs where its stem should be. There's a tomato with a human face, which is moaning and sighing. There's a ton of faces everywhere. Fingerless hands are like reaching out to them.
It's the best. It's amazing.
It's fucking nasty in there.
It's really horrifying. Like,
it kicks ass, is what you're saying.
When you put together the sounds that these poor creatures are making,
Yeah.
like, I think it's described by their fathers like, oh, they weren't happy. It's like, this goes beyond not being happy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is fucked up.
But there's also something else down there. And Margaret's like, there's some legs over here, which are attached to a body.
Oh, these ones are.
and it's Dad. It's Dad.
Dad.
He's been bound and gagged. But Casey's like, no, Dad is up at the airport.
Casey.
Dad's picking up Mom.
Casey, shut the fuck up.
Seriously. My
Casey.
God.
And then Casey's like, he has leaves on his head though, Margaret. Which, as if the other dad doesn't also have the leaves, Casey. What does that? But Margaret's like, it's just a side effect. Which, okay.
Yeah, all right.
Not super good. She like removes the gag, which makes sense. And Dad's like, I've been down here for days. And he's like, no, that's not your dad. That's a plant. Also, Dr. Martinez is here. he's over there.
He's right over there.
Like, oh, okay. Margaret makes the executive decision to untie their dad. He's like, I'll explain everything. Immediately, he does not explain anything.
Yeah.
Gets up, fucking bolts, and grabs an axe. And is just like, I'm coming to get you.
Which that's the cliffhanger at the end of the chapter.
Right.
Is that, oh, he was really grabbing the axe because guess who's here?
It's other dad.
It's Plant Dad and Mom.
And Mom.
Mom is
But
there as well.
Yeah, their dad is like, okay, first of all, real dad. I'm going to say real dad. He's like described as sweating and breathing heavily, holding the axe. Like axes are heavy. I recognize that. They're not that heavy.
Look, he's dealing with a couple days of no water, no fucking food. I mean, there was also the description of him being untied where he was like moaning, like
yes,
Yeah.
I did love that.
that was okay.
But so other dad comes down and is like, "Here's your mom." And they do but which one's the real? He's the plant. No, he's the plant.
It's literally that Spider-Man meme where they're both
Spider-Man
pointing
meme,
at each other.
100%. Can I note that mom bizarrely says, "Kids, what have you done?"
Yeah.
Dude, yes, this made me incredibly angry, actually.
Yeah, like Jesus
Right?
Christ. Like holy shit, mom.
Like I agree with Rachel. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, for real, like you come downstairs and see a bunch of crazy shit and you don't immediately like start yelling at your husband, be like, what the
Who's a
fuck did
fucking
you
scientist?
do?
Like,
Yeah. Like,
This is clearly all your fault.
yeah. No, it was like, I was complaining to Bob about it. I was so upset. I was like, how can she blame these kids? Her husband's in fault. But it's like that moment when reality crashes down upon you and you have to face your husband, but you don't want to. But your kids like brought out the truth, but like you don't want to. So you blame it on your kids and not your husband, Like
I will
moments.
say that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about for this ending is that, man, it is fucking grim.
I agree.
That Mrs. Brewer can't fucking tell which one of them is real.
Dude, no shit.
Like,
It's
fucking holy
woof.
shit. You
Woof.
had children with this man.
Also, one of them is wearing a Dodgers hat, which you wouldn't you immediately, if you saw another dad not wearing the Dodgers hat, which you've previously established that he's never worn a hat before, like in his life, wouldn't you be like,
Yeah.
oh, yep, okay, pretty obvious giveaway of which one is the not dad?
The other giveaway I think that they don't take into consideration is that they find the real dad in the closet with Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
I think that's like a big
Yeah,
Yeah, if it was just the dad, then it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the real dad was keeping the fake dad down here.
Yeah.
The clone, I guess, that he's referred to as. But keeping him in there and then just like trying to keep him away from the children and stuff. But I don't know for me, it's like, why would you even keep him around? Like keep the plant clone
I don't
around.
know.
Just
Exactly,
immediately
yeah.
set it on fire. Like,
Yeah.
like no, absolutely not.
I don't know. So Margaret just like walks over and takes the axe. Just like,
Yeah.
I'll be borrowing this today. But her dad, her real dad, is like, princess, no. So she thinks to herself, oh, this is my real dad. And if you're watching the TV version, it ends there. But if you're reading the book,
Yeah.
that's not sufficient for Margaret, which, I mean, to be fair, probably better safe than sorry. But she's like, Casey, get that knife over there.
Yup.
So Casey runs over, gets a knife, Margaret takes it, and just fucking stabs
Just sticks him.
her dad.
Just shanks him.
Just shakes him.
And he's like, fuck.
Oh, shit. Oh, fuck, ow.
What did you do? And confirms.
That he bleeds red.
So that means.
That he's a human.
And the other one is a plant man.
So she gives her dad the axe, and her dad just like, bam! It's like chops other dad in half vertically.
Dude,
Yup.
I would love it if they did that in the show. That would have
Seriously.
been killer. But they'd go a different route, and I think it's for this reason. Because
Yes.
a man being chopped in half with an axe as their innards are all green and goopy and spill out everywhere is, ugh. I don't think that kids would enjoy it. I think there would be more lasting imagery in that in the show if they did it that way. But yeah,
It was fucking awesome, though.
it was incredible.
Yes.
This was the moment where this is the Jovial Bob trademark amazing Goosebumps moment, which very
Yes.
much similarly to the previous Welcome to Deadhouse book, like when people melt.
Yes.
Like this is that, but for this book.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this book in general had way fewer moments like on the Welcome to Deadhouse where I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's way slower, and it saves its oh hell yeah moment for like right now. And it is pretty fucking cool.
But it's only one of
Admittedly.
them. It's just like
I mean, I guess the plant people part is kind of cool. It's spooky.
Yeah.
But they're so only now is this happening.
Yeah.
And they just kill their dad, and his dad's like, I guess my daughter knew, and she goes, no, I knew my dad would have red blood. Okay.
The dad's like, I have definitely fucked up this relationship. I have a lot of work to do.
They're just like, oh, Martinez is here too, let's get him out. And everything goes back to normal. Martinez is like, oh, this is pretty fucking, hey man, these plants are pretty fucking cool. You can have your job back.
Yes, seriously, what the hell? He's totally okay with that. He's like, wowee, you're great.
Hey, thanks for getting me out of that basement. You have your job back. Sorry you put me in there in the first place, but...
But yeah, he doesn't like give him his job back overtly. It's just like, hey, you need a bigger place to work on this stuff. And I'm immediately like, no, he doesn't. That's the last thing he needs.
Yeah, it's weird because
he needs less.
He says that he'll talk to the board members to get his job back, but it seems like this is the exact reason why the board members let him go in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go to the board and tell them that you've not only been doing the same shit that you got fired for, but have somehow managed to jerk off enough into these planters that you have created whole ass human hands and feet and entire people.
Yep, it's a great job.
I'm sure they'll let you back.
So Dad then murders all the plants, which, okay, at this point, we have to acknowledge that Dad maybe should not be a scientist.
Seriously.
The good ending to this would be him just being like, you know what?
I'm going to become a manager at Walmart. So, he explains that he was making a super plant and that he accidentally cut his hand on a slide, which I have done, and it got mixing with plant molecules.
Which you have done.
And he says, I'm a scientist, so I didn't think it was gross, which...
You have done.
Okay. Okay, all right, fair enough. But apparently, he says literally that he just kept making plant clones.
Yeah,
and putting them in the closet.
He couldn't stop. He was just too excited. I mean, and I thought, well, I mean, A for honesty, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like if you think back to what's in the closet.
Yeah.
What he's like, I just kept making fucked up, awful plant-human hybrids and being like, closet?
The fact, if you ever make something as a scientist that you feel the need to put into a closet to keep it away from people, probably something bad's happening. I was so excited because I kept making these tomatoes that would endlessly scream. It was so cool. And so I just made 80 of them and put them all in the fucking closet. Yeah, great.
Yeah, I mean, the plant clone just imitated his madness that had, already set in.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
This dude needs to be locked up. I'm sorry.
He's like, all right, lock you up. Got it. Next thing. But he's like, so then Dad just fucking murders all these plants, which are apparently, he describes that they were suffering. So he had to kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or he kills almost all of them, not all of them.
There were a few normal ones that he can put in the yard. Because Mom's like, oh no, all of them?
See, that's the thing though. I was like, no, there's no way. You don't know are these plants actually normal? And then of course, we're coming to that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dad's like, don't worry gang, as an apology, I'm building the best game room ever.
I mean, fuck yeah, but...
Fuck yeah.
I would never go down in that basement ever again. I wouldn't care what the hell you put down in there.
Nope.
No, I watched my dad murder someone.
Honestly, probably need to move.
Yeah, seriously.
A lot of trauma in that house.
Just fucking forward through time. Margaret's in the garden, hanging out, as you do, and she's just hanging out with them flowers, and suddenly, a flower is like, Margaret, I'm your dad!
Yeah!
Hey, Margaret, I'm your dad!
I'm really your dad.
I'm really your dad.
I'm the real dad.
I'm your dad.
Which is so frightening that for a second I could see myself being like, is this really my dad? Just because of all the creepy shit that happened. But obviously,
Yeah. This brings up a great point about the TV show now, right? Because now is the time for TV time.
TV time.
But the ending of the show it's very clear that was their real dad that they saved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's like 1,000 plants, and they all start saying,
Yeah, they're all like,
dad
I'm your dad. No, I'm your dad.
No, I'm your dad. No, I'm your dad. Hey, I'm your dad. like evil monster mash voices.
Right, yeah.
So they're not her dad, obviously. In the book, it's like there's one plant.
Yeah.
And because you can't hear the voice, maybe it is. I mean, like...
Yeah, like, in the book... It definitely, they play with the idea that like the lack of like trust and what really happened like going on in there, and who was the first person to like get hurt and all that get hurt with the slide. And
also the dad goes back in the basement a few times, like, and he claims to destroy the plants, but I mean it sets up the possibility that maybe he isn't.
Right, and he's been working on this stuff for such a long time at this point,
right,
that like a lot of stuff could have happened in between then. And they make a point in the book as opposed to the show, because in the show it's very clear who's real and who's not, you know?
Yes, oh, definitely.
Like the hat, for one thing, which is just a blue hat with a yellow S on it, which...
It's a sports hat.
Sports. S for sports.
S for sports.
I actually looked that up thinking that it was like a real team, and of course it's not. But yeah, in the book, it's like... there really is that question of like, you know, in John Carpenter's thing, like the thing, it's like, who is, you really get that impression at the end of it. Like, who is is this really the dad? And they've fully devolved, and you know, they're suddenly but the fact that the plant actually, like in the show, it's very funny because in order to make the plants, like, which were, I think they were just like sunflowers or something.
They were, yes.
In order to make them look like they're talking to Margaret, someone just out of frame is like shaking them as they talk, which is very cute. But in the book, it's like, does the little flower have a mouth on it? Is that how it's talking? Like,
oh my God, good point.
Like, how is it talking?
In the book, there's definitely more possibility for it to be the dad.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I'm going a long way, but that leads into...
No, I mean, it just means that there's more ways it could be the dad. Like, it could have a mouth, it could have a face. Yeah, it could. I mean, also the dad explain, like, the way the teleport thing works. There's more room for that to have happened. You know. Like,
and there. Honestly, that leads into my sort of like theory, if we want to get into that, which is that in the book, there is a possibility that the whole family are plants at this point, and that they're all like, they have all been infected or like fucked up somehow by the goings on in the basement, to the point where, like, because that one line where the dad is describing like how the DNA like sequencer works or whatever the fuck they're doing down there.
I mean, they kept also eating sandwiches.
Like
real food.
Here's the thing. Later on, you know what they ate?
What?
Avocados?
Tomato soup.
And avocado salad.
What are those made out of?
Plants.
Well, the other thing is, of course, that the plants like hug them or like aren't.
Yeah, that's the thing that got me thinking. Like, well, shit. There was that whole long thing about like, oh, they weren't trying to like hurt us. They were just, trying to. And for me, that screamed, those were their real parents, and they were fully plants, and they were like embracing them and being like, please, but they didn't want to hurt them.
I can totally see that.
Maybe. See, but that's the cool thing that Mario, you were talking about. Like in the show, there's no chance. Like it's just
no.
It is very clear cut. Like, the only thing that's scary about the ending of that is that, oh shit, there are more plants that need to be destroyed.
There's more evil plants.
Yeah, we got to set fire to this entire fucking house.
To begin with, let me say that of all of the things that Netflix has done wrong, and that's many things, allowing you to skip the intro on Goosebumps is
rude.
The fucking greatest crime.
Incredibly rude.
I also thought this was a special, and it's not. So there is no RL intro for this show.
Yeah, incredibly rude. So yeah, unfortunately, this TV version is a pretty heavily redacted version of the book.
Yeah.
Pretty heavily, like...
I don't want to say that it's necessarily a bad thing, because there's a lot of downtime in the book that doesn't even be there.
Yeah, totally. But
some stuff makes more sense.
it definitely feels way more rushed. It definitely...
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Like, we're booking.
Well, we start immediately with Mom leaving.
Yeah, and the whole scene is overdubbed because... and really badly, by the way. Because the wind is so fucking out of control in the location they're shooting at.
Canada. Let's stress something. Let's stress something right now, as I have a note right here. This is not California.
Yeah,
this is extremely not California. They literally in the book say it's hot and sunny even in winter.
Yes.
This is clearly late fall, early winter in Canada.
Oh God. But yeah, they immediately start off with mom leaving because sister is having surgery. And yeah, already at the very beginning, much better version of Casey on the TV show than the book.
He has a cool jacket, for one thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, they... Well, no, say anything about Casey. Talk about Casey. Let me tell you about Casey. This Casey.
Well, first off, he isn't a little shit. Also, immediately, the nickname Fatso has been completely redacted.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
God.
The only nickname that Margaret has is Princess.
That's fine.
And that's perfectly fine. And right out the gate, immediately we get Margaret being like, he doesn't call me Princess anymore. And it's bullshit and I hate him. So that's when this version of Casey not playing Frisbee right now because way too fucking windy.
No.
But the TV's version of Casey is better mainly because no pranks.
Yes.
No pranking happening.
Yeah, I don't think we have any Casey fake out scares. I don't think that happens at all.
I think maybe there was a little tiny mini jump scare with Casey tapping Margaret on the shoulder.
But it's not much. It's way less in the book, for sure. Also, I was going to say, in the book, the first 2 times they go in the basement are just for, like, fun. They're like, let's just go check out the basement.
Yeah.
In the show, there are reasons they go down the basement the first 2 times. Like, in the first, like, they go down to the basement to get their dad to drive their mom to the airport.
Right.
He's not down there. So he does the stay out of the basement from the top of the stairs.
And from the top of his lungs.
From the top. Oh, yeah, he fucking goes.
Stay out of the basement!
And then that's the other note that I have here. The TV version, way more, quote, stay out of the basement, unquote, phrasing. Like, way more of that phrase being said. But yeah, you're right. Like, I think that them going into the basement makes more practical sense in the show.
Yes.
But I feel like a big reason they went into the basement in the first place was because Diane dared them to in the book.
And Diane does not exist.
Exactly.
In the show.
She is gone. Unfortunately, so is what was his name? Kevin?
Kevin is...
No Kevin.
They do not know a Kevin.
They do no Kevin. Nope.
Yeah, like so the second time, which would have been Diane being like, let's check out the basement, Casey, instead of watching a movie, is playing a video game, which has an 8-bit Goosebumps theme.
It's incredible. I love it.
Fucking rules.
I really hope that exists somewhere. I'm sure a fan has made it.
But they're like, they hear just nightmare sounds from the basement. Like, clearly not normal sounds.
Yeah, and Casey's just like, it's whatever. It's just fuck
And
it.
they actually go down there, which is crazy, because if that were me, I would have just ran out of the house.
Yeah, these kids are
100%,
brave. They're
100%.
like, what the fuck is going on? We need to investigate.
So they go down, which we get our, like, the plants are breathing.
Yep.
The plants there's big plants. The basement also, we should note, there's no rec room down there. The bizarrely incongruous dual basement thing is not in this show.
Incredibly unfortunate, because the TV version of the basement is like a slightly bigger walk-in closet. It's just nothing. It's so small. In the book, it feels huge. It feels like it's another floor on the house. But I guess...
Well... His shirt is
do they have...
3 yards away, they say.
Yeah. But, like, wait, I just realized, do Californians have basements?
No.
Oh, so the entire premise for this book doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay.
Yep.
So at least it makes more sense in the TV show because it's clearly Canada.
Everyone in Canada has a basement.
Everybody in Canada has a basement.
That's where they store syrup, probably.
All the maple trees so that they can farm the syrup.
Oh my god.
Like in Virginia, the bottom floor of our houses are like basements. So it's an entire like it's an entire floor of a house. So it's big. It's huge. So yeah, I was getting that kind of vibe from the book, but apparently it doesn't make any sense. But in the show, it's just fucking so tiny, teeny, teeny, tiny.
Well, Casey points out, I wonder if Dad's doing the rainforest, which I already brought this up. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What does that mean, Casey?
Also,
doing the rainforest.
Another thing that makes me like Casey more in the show versus the book. He's playing the Goosebumps game rather than watching like blood and guts and gore.
Yes.
On the TV, so he's not a little fucking psycho.
He also doesn't take his shirt off. He just takes off his jacket.
Yes, and he has
that makes sense.
Yeah, actually makes sense. Also, really happy that there's no Diane to make a creepy comment about his hot bod.
This is true, but I really miss her commentary.
Diane would have been a nice character.
I miss her insight.
Yeah.
Especially about the cops arresting their dad.
Surely, like, being a mad scientist has got to be illegal. It's like, yeah, actually, I think you got a good point there.
I mean, definitely, I think that there probably should be a law against the plant thing he's doing, for sure.
Definitely, absolutely.
So, Margaret notably pricks her finger on an angry vine.
Yes.
The vines have much more strength in this show. Mm-hmm. She has to really pull to get away from the plants, and it pricks her finger. This is important for later.
Yeah.
And so, like, again, we have the whole Casey left his jacket downstairs. He has to go down and get it. But there's no Mr. Henry. So instead of their dad being just, like, distracted by a conversation, he just very slowly enters the house. Like,
so weirdly, like, as he's walking up, he's like inspecting the tree. He's like looking at the plants on the porch.
Which he's a botanist, okay, you know, right?
Yeah, he's checking up on everything. But like, I just don't understand why in the book and in the show that Margaret didn't like get the idea to like just go out and stall him. Like, these kids need to learn that, like, oh, if you want something, if you want a person to stay in a specific spot, you can actually affect that change
just
by going out there and being like, hey, Dad, so how's work? Was the drive good? What are you doing in the basement, huh?
Well, here's the thing. All this is irrelevant because he doesn't find them in the basement like in the book, because Margaret never goes down to rescue Casey. Casey just goes down, gets his jacket, and leaves. What happens is they're standing next to the basement door, and their dad just says, did you go in the basement? And they say yes!
Yeah.
Yeah.
These kids. Oh,
just lie! As opposed to the book, their dad in this setting, which I'm pretty sure at this point is still a human dad, is way more relaxed about it. And is like, are you okay immediately? He immediately asks, are you okay? As opposed to being cagey about it. Yeah. And then he like sits them down, explains that he's trying to crossfeed plants, and then that's it. that's that.
Yep.
I mean, it just feels more clear that this guy is still human at this point in the story. But then randomly, we just get the scene where he eats the plant food. It just happens.
Yeah, it just.
Also, there's an amazing scene where Margaret's telling her mom this stuff, and the dad just steals the phone.
Yes.
And says, bye.
We miss you. I will. Bye.
Okay, to set that up, there's more that happens there. First off, when the call is happening, Margaret tells her mom, Dad's eating plant food, and her mom says, I'm sure it's just for work.
Yup. What the hell, Mom?
So this entire time, like, he yanks the phone away, and he's talking to Margaret's mom. He's talking to his wife. But the entire time, he's like doing it really monotone and just being like, yep.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Great. Okay. I'll see you when you get home. But also imagine the entire time he's staring daggers at Margaret.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's just staring her fucking down.
But then he goes, bye.
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 Bye. Oh, we totally forgot to mention, in the basement in the show, there is an amazing green light setup down there.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just like green lights everywhere. It's amazing. I love it.
It's very green.
It's like their dad's a Razer fucking gamer and has RGB lighting all throughout the fucking thing.
Oh God.
So Margaret, instead of like having questions to ask her dad, does not. And that's why she goes to his bedroom. Instead, she just hears him being a fucking freak. Like, he's just like.
He's seriously making noises.
Like, she's like, I better go check that.
Better figure out what the fuck is going on there.
So he goes in the bathroom, and instead of the like frisbee reveal of the leaves, both the cut and the leaves are revealed in this bathroom.
Both,
which makes sense. I mean,
you know what doesn't make sense though? Why there are Venetian blinds to their bathroom? Like, what the fuck was that? Dude, so you could just
Mom and Dad are into some weird stuff.
Oh my God.
And then again, okay, here's the thing that makes more sense. In the show, she like makes a sound and runs away, and the dad actually does follow her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like just looms over her bed, but not like necessarily menacingly. He's more just like,
And she's pretending to sleep hard.
Yes. It is the
Yes.
most stressful acting like you're sleeping I have ever seen. Like she is
face is
slamming her
clenched.
eyelids shut. Her whole face is pinched.
If he walked around the bed and looked at it, he'd be like,
Oh my God.
I definitely know you're awake.
So then we follow that up with him making them breakfast, which is the plant slop.
Yeah.
Which looks very gross.
Which looks like spinach and avocado and
It
yogurt.
looked like some beans in there, some green
There
beans
is
or something.
definitely spinach in there. That's definite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
He doesn't do the DNA conversation. He just says, I'm making a plant that's an animal, like straight up. He
Yep.
just says that to them. And the eating scene is still very uncomfortable. I still was like, ugh.
Ugh.
And then Dr. Merrick.
Yeah, they changed the
Merrick.
name. It's
Yep,
not
they
Martinez.
not Martinez, Merrick.
So this is interesting. I looked this up because Dr. Merrick sounds a lot like various people that I've worked with. So I looked up where he's from. His name is Frant Alanek. Got it. One.
Got it.
He's a Khartoum-born Armenian Canadian. But here's the thing: in the movie Pontypool, he played Dr. Mendez.
Huh.
So apparently, it's actually not that weird for him to have been Dr. Martinez.
That's interesting.
But instead, they changed to Dr. Merrick, which I can only think of the villain from Yu-Gi-Oh! So the entire time, I thought what he was gonna, if maybe he was trying to steal their father's Egyptian god cards.
During this scene, if you listen hard, you can hear their conversation that Brewer is having with Merrick.
Oh yeah.
While the kids are like, I think they scoop it into the trash in this one, or did they put it into the sink? I forget.
They
what.
put it in the trash.
Yeah, because
Trash.
I couldn't.
They
I
ran
don't remember
outside.
because I was listening to Dr. Brewer say, "quote They were good numbers. They were
Yep.
very, very good numbers."
I also wrote that down.
Exactly when I brought in my numbers. Right. They were good numbers. They were very, very good numbers.
They were
man.
good numbers.
Oh, what kind of numbers were they? Oh, 69, 420.
420, 8008.
Oh man, that's cool.
So the kids are like outside spying on them in the basement. And also the tendrils of the plants are like in the yard now too.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're like expanding out of the basement because Casey like gets attacked by one and their dad hears him and comes out and they ask him if he's a mad scientist and he says, "I'm an angry scientist."
I love that. Also, at this point, it's really becoming apparent how weird it is that the dad is constantly wearing his lab coat around the house.
Yes.
It's like he's trying to impress his children. Like, no, I am doing very doctor work.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you don't even have to wear a lab coat in your own home.
It's your house.
It's very strange. Dr. Merrick's wife calls and asks if they've seen him.
Yes.
Because he's missing.
Did you catch her number that she asked?
Yes,
them
555-0101.
I want that number so bad. I wonder what we should try and call that number. Actually, I'm going to try and call it right now.
Oh.
Oh, no.
This will be great. Trust me. 555-0101. No, I don't want to add it to my contacts.
Check the number and dial.
Damn it.
You need the area code. That's a 3-digit number, and I have no idea what
whatever.
that would be.
Wouldn't it be amazing if a woman answered and was like, "Have you seen my husband?"
Oh my god!
No, it would have been even better if it was like, "Hi, I'm R.L. Stein."
Also, Dad has hidden Mom's number, so the kids can't call her.
Yes.
Which is very threatening.
Yeah.
That is like, we talk about red flags a lot these days. Dad's got a lot of red flags going on.
Yep.
Also, I will say, just as another comment about apparel happening in the house when it shouldn't, if you thought that the kids having their shoes on in the house was a book thing, no, it's a TV show thing too. At one point, the kids are told to go to their rooms, and they sleep not only with all of their clothes on, but also with their shoes on.
So after that point, during that point, or in that kind of exchange, Margaret sneaks into Dad's room and hides under his bed.
Yes.
So the worm scene happens with the dad in the room, and the worms apparently are actually falling off of Dad.
Yeah.
Which I think is great.
That's amazing.
But he also drops Merrick's wallet, like just, oops! And we get the classic reaching down for an item under your bed, but not looking under your bed.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very funny how he reaches down and doesn't look, mainly because he is so wildly off. Like he goes nearly smacks Margaret in the face. Just like, no, that's nowhere near where you dropped the wallet, but whatever.
Well, so at this point, they just like decide, all right, we have to go in the basement and we have to destroy these plants. Like, Dad leaves for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we actually know why he leaves. He just goes away for some reason. And they're like, all right, let's get down in the basement. And so they bring Weed Killer.
Yeah.
And a crowbar.
Oh, wait. Did we mention worm bed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the worms fall off and Mark crawls out of the bed and discovers worm bed. And it's just worms. There's no other bugs in there.
No
It's
other
just
bugs,
worms.
just worms. And that's the thing that I think Rachel mentioned, like, oh my God, I remember this because of that.
No, it was actually the very, very end.
Oh, the very end. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. But I will mention that in the Goosebumps intro, if I remember correctly, Wormbed is featured very prominently. Like, I think that there is at the beginning, they show like a clip show during the song of all of the great moments from Goosebumps TV show.
Of course.
And Wormbed makes it. And I just have in my notes, Wormbed kicks ass. We can move on.
Wormbed kicks ass. So they go to the basement, and first of all, there's a Margaret plant clone. It's the one that she pricked her finger on from before.
Right.
Now has her face in it. So they kill that. They kill that.
Just murder that thing.
They just
Get it
they
out
just
of
kill that. They find their dad very quickly. This, of course, happens all very fast. I would just say their dad looks like a fucking psycho. Like,
Yes.
he looks so sick. He looks so gross in the green light. Like, I don't know if they also put green makeup on him, but he looks nasty.
Yeah.
So we get the same confrontation. Fake dad comes down. He's like, no, he's a plant clone. I'm the real one. Except he says it in the most obviously I'm a plant way you could possibly. It's so clear. But also, here's the thing. The axe is gone.
Yes.
Yep.
It's just whether or not Margaret is going to spray them with Weed Killer.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, spray him. It doesn't. Hey, gang. Just spray fucking both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
seriously.
I mentioned that to Rachel while we were watching. It was just like, well, just you don't even have to spray both of them like completely. Just have them both, like do a fucking John Carpenter's The Thing. Have them both hold out their hands and put some weed killer on their hands and see what fucking happens. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if I were the real dad, I'd be like, yeah, go ahead, spray me. I mean,
yeah, just do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and then also before we move on, I did want to say before that, Margaret can be heard saying, "Grab anything we can use to protect ourselves. Who knows what those plants can do?"
Can we talk about the fact that in the show and the book, these plants are not really the threat? at all and don't do anything particularly bad.
Yeah.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. That's why I thought there was maybe something like, wouldn't it be cooler? I think you could really come back to this and kind of, spruce it up. Because you can have like Dr. Brewer's clone like be in control of the plants and actually pose a fucking threat.
Sure, yeah.
Like you can also take it into a place where maybe Dr. Brewer's been going at this for much longer, and and the plants downstairs are actually fully transformed people that have been turned into plants rather than plants that are just starting to become sentient.
Well, it's like all the covers that show a child being strangled by vines are really misleading.
Yeah.
Because while it does happen, it's very minor.
Yeah.
The vines are not the threat in this book at all.
Right.
It's just very weird. Anyway, they melt the plant doctor. They melt him completely.
Yep.
And then they just have dinner. Hamburgers for everybody.
I got hamburgers for everybody. Let's go.
I have written down. But more importantly, Dr. Merrick and Mom are now there.
Yep.
And they're just so jovial about the whole thing.
Just
like
Mom's
like, you never mentioned you'd made a plant clone of yourself to me. I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
and just so jokey about it. And she has a joke where she's like, "Oh, I mentioned that my kids were growing like weeds. I didn't know how close to reality I actually was."
I think the writer who wrote that was like,
But it feels like the entire time, like every time they say one of those jokes, it feels like the end of like a Scooby-Doo episode where they have the music sting like immediately and then the show credits.
yep.
Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da.
Yeah. And then we get the multiple flowers
Yes.
as dad.
Yes. The person slightly out of frame shaking a dandelion vigorously to emulate it, like yelling at a little girl, "I'm your dad!"
I'm your dad. No, I'm your dad.
Oh, that was the alternate intro for this podcast where it's all of us going like, "Hey, I'm your dad."
No, I'm your dad.
I'm your dad. But yeah, so what did we think of overall the second Goosebumps book?
You know what? The first story is, I think it's a great introduction. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You don't expect the series to get immediately heavy. There's this grotesqueness about what is happening, and then this despair and this knowledge. I think of the ending, with the flower being like, "No, I'm your real dad," as this sort of stupid, it's like metaphor for like the relationship between, the father and the family is done.
Irreparably
More creepy.
harmed.
Yeah, like it's over. I don't think he's definitely not learned any lesson.
Right.
And the family just gets together at the end like, "No, everything's fine." I think he uses the words like, "Oh, we can just leave this chapter of our life behind." And it's just like, "No, we'll just wipe all, we'll just like
It's
cover
like,
this like it never
how?
even happened."
How?
know?
Because he's going to continue his job doing this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like it's often miserable, this book.
Yeah.
Like it's often just like heaping misery on Margaret. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god. It's like, okay, so dad sucks. Dad's mean. Dad's yelling. Your aunt is sick. Mom is gone. Your aunt is dying. Like it's like so much bad stuff happens that's not very fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like on my Goosebumps rating system, patented at this point. Like if I was going for relatability, I mean, I think it's very relatable. I think it's probably, probably a 9 or a 10 in terms of relatability.
But that's probably the
not
problem.
in a good way.
Yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
too relatable where it's just like, "Oh, this isn't a fun romp. This is like real."
No.
Stay Out of the Basement could fucking happen.
This is a very special episode of Goosebumps. Like, so Teen Zone, we're at 10. But R.L. Stein factor, I'm just going to do my quick check here. How many times I typed fake out.
I'm sorry, who?
I'm sorry, the Jovial Bob Stein factor.
I'm never going to remember to say that.
I'm going to call him JB and confuse everybody.
JB Stein.
JB Stein.
There were 5 fake out scares.
Oh, so much less than the
I
first
know.
one.
I was going to say that.
So
I
much
forgot to
less.
mention it. Like that's one of the saving graces of this book is that so few like jump scares compared to Welcome to Dead House.
So while every chapter does end in a cliffhanger, so that's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But the fake outs are much lower. I'm going to say it's like a 6 out of 10 on the R.L. Steinness. It doesn't really feel very Jovial Bob Steiny. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel even very goosebumpsy to me, based on the first book.
Yeah.
If that's your metric. And then scare factor, I mean, the scary things about it are not the monster.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, the scary things about it are like the feeling of being out of place in your own home, not trusting your family, being distant from your dad. You're a kind of abusive dad. Like, real life scary, 10 out of 10. Monster scary, like 3 out of 10. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know what I think about this book.
Yeah, as we're coming back to it now, I don't know. I think I'd rank it just slightly ahead of Welcome to Dead House, just a tiny little bit, just because I like the kind of creeping dread that the beginning parts
So
had.
you'd rank it higher.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I actually would too, because it has that, it got me, it hit me. Like, I don't want to pick up this book again. I want to just go to the next one. Like, as an adult, I'm like, this is horrible, this is sad. Okay, where's the next book? I just want to get this out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I guess I feel like it's a better book than Welcome to Dead House.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's a better Goosebumps book than Welcome to Dead House.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if we're we will if inevitably come up with some standards for the Goosebumps series and what they mean. But as an adult approaching it now, I'd rate it a little bit higher than Welcome to Dead House. But as a kid, I'd probably go for Welcome to Dead House, because there's just so much more to like. It's way more exciting
accessible
to read. It keeps going, you know. It doesn't feel like it stops. Stay Out of the Basement is like, you know, it takes a while for it to get going.
Yeah.
So
I guess we'll have to see. I think that the time will either be kind or unkind to the house as we progress through this series. Yeah, it's a curious book in the series, I would say.
Yeah. Which makes sense. It is early on in the Goosebumps, you know, series.
It definitely feels right that it shouldn't have a Tim Jacobus cover. That's something I do feel. I feel like it's very right that it has a different cover entirely.
Oh, yeah.
Because the vibes are totally different.
Yeah, and I also feel like, I mean, according to the wiki page, this is one of the few Goosebumps books that's also third person.
Yep.
So yeah, all of that makes sense, and it just makes me think of like what could have been, you know, if R.L. Stine Jovial Bob, JB, leaned harder into this style of storytelling rather than like overtly going like more like cartoony.
Maybe he does. Maybe Not a Living Than Before is like a really heavy story about politics. Maybe he starts talking about politics now. Maybe Slappy is like involved in like some government corruption.
Please, God.
Oh my God, that one I would actually kill that and fucking hear that. Also, yeah, I'm sure You Can't Scare Me Again is about the dangers of technology on our lives, and how everyone shouldn't always be looking at their phones all the fucking time.
These fucking kids.
Fucking kids.
Speaking of what comes next, should we attempt to predict the plot of Monster Blood?
Before that, let's go ahead and do our next segment.
Oh, right.
Alternate titles.
Oh, God.
Alrighty, let's
what
go
is
ahead
it
and
that-
start with me, I guess, since I did I do it last time? Mario, you do it.
I've got one.
What do you got?
Egad, Bad Dad.
Oh my God, that's good.
That's incredible. I think that's the winner. I haven't even said anything.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything. I can't even. Nothing's coming. No, that's great. That's perfect.
Mine, I've got.
You get real with it. Get real with it.
I'll start
Oh, no.
bad. I'll start with my worst one. Dad's a dirtbag.
Ooh, Dirty Dad.
Dirty Dad. My other one is Don't Think About the Basement.
I like that.
And the last one is The Adventures of Fatso and Dank Dad.
If that were the title and I got to reading the book, I'd be like, what the fuck? Based on the title, I did not expect the book to turn out this. Yeah, so I didn't do my homework. I didn't come up with any alternate titles.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry. Off my head, No Daddy No. Wayne's mom coming. I know.
When's mom coming back would be good though.
Yeah, when's mommy coming back?
That's a good one.
That's pretty good actually.
Oh, I got one. Here, I'll mute myself so I can tell Rachel in private.
Okay. Did you say?
Say it.
Okay, leave me alone.
We can talk about the fact that the Japanese name of the book is Sleep in the Basement.
Oh no.
Oh man, that just makes me think of a parent commanding me to sleep in the basement. And you can't come up, you can't have dinner. Sleep in the basement.
Yeah.
Okay, that ended that on a really bad note. Anyway,
Because the story's so
rough.
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. Like, man, grappling with some tough stuff, episode 2. Gotta say, Jovial Bob, you didn't make it easy for us.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, and with that, let's go ahead and predict the twist. This is the segment where we use the title, cover, and tagline to predict what the next book will be about. Monster Blood is the next one.
I gotta look at the cover.
Yeah, let's go ahead and open the cover.
It's a good cover. This is a good cover.
Oh, this is fucking iconic. It's one of those iconic ones. All right, so this Goosebumps book, let me detail it. It's called Monster Blood. It's got a picture. It's a really nice picture. I really like this one.
This is one of Goosebumps' best, genuinely.
Yeah, for real. Like, this is a wooden staircase, like a traditional wooden staircase with a little carpeted middle section. And all the way down the stairs, there's this green, goopy, obviously monster blood. And the creepiest part about it, there is a pair of glasses that seem to be melting into the blood. And the tagline is...
It's a monster blood drive.
So this is when the taglines become shit posts, like right here.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing
That's
at all.
absolutely
nothing.
awful. So let's go ahead. And who knows what this book is about?
I don't know.
I have no
I
idea.
do. You both don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get Mario's thoughts first.
Okay. I am going to assume... Oh, man. It's Monster Blood Drive. Monster Blood. So, all right. Let's get wide with it. Let's say that... Okay. There's no way there's a blood drive. There's no way there's actually a blood drive in this book. I would be shocked if there was a blood drive in this book, but let's go with it. There's a blood drive. Okay. I guess it's 4 monsters. Maybe monsters are dying and they need the blood to live. And so they're trying to get it. But then again, why is it coming down the stairs? So, oh no, they're keeping it in the attic for future use. And oops, some kids, some neighborhood rowdies, probably Kevin, get in there and mess it all up.
Damn
and
it,
it starts
Kevin.
leaking. And maybe it melts Grandma.
No, Grandma!
Grandma, no!
Hijinks ensue.
Hijinks
ensue. Or I could say it's monster jizz. I could say that. But I know that it's not. I mean, maybe it's Gak? Maybe it's Nickelodeon Gak?
It
It's
looks
true.
like Gak.
It could be Gak. All right, Rachel. You've had enough time.
Okay, so I feel like I'm cheating because I'm looking at both covers, and then on the original scary one, it's really creepy. It's just this green ooze going downstairs.
Yep.
And the second one, it's not creepy at all. It's just this Gak monster coming out of a trash can with like hockey sticks or something and a baseball bat.
Wait, can I see it? Oh, yeah. Okay, that's the new cover for the new classic Goosebumps
and these are on
run.
the Kindles that I keep buying. And so
Not as good.
Not as good at all.
really, seriously. It makes me think there's just going to be like a slime monster that's, I don't know, terrorizing the neighborhood. As for the twist, Grandma did it. Grandma made the monster ooze in the basement. Arlstein was already like, oh my god, I'm fucking already running out of ideas. Don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. More green blood.
Okay, here's my prediction. Okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Cheetah.
And they're going to be roughhousing in the attic. And then one of them gets hurt and they're bleeding, but it's not red blood. It's green blood because twist, they're a monster.
Ooh.
Good.
I know that that's not it, but
But
wouldn't
that sounds very possible.
it be nice? The alternate title is "My Kid Brother's a Fucking Monster." I wish Goosebumps books would have
My
curse
younger,
words in 'em.
immature brother who won't ever grow up and is a total dick is a monster.
My very annoying 11-year-old brother. Let's just get that out of the way.
My shit ass pranky fucking dumb fuck brother. Yeah, no, that's the twist. This is a book where the younger brother is a total shit and keeps jump scaring the older sister to the point where the older sister like shoves him down the fucking stairs and then he explodes into green slime. Oh my god, this is the secret world of Alex Mack.
Oh shit, you're right.